I've seen people name communities masterminds when they're actually not. If you see a mastermind that's like 100 people, that's not a mastermind. I'm sorry. I can't get behind that. That's a community call because there's no way you can talk to 100 people on one group call or that 100 people can all get to know each other really, really well. I think that debunks it, in my opinion. I don't know. If you want to challenge me, DM me, or maybe don't DM me. Welcome to Side Note, the podcast, where we empower ambitious women with new perspectives. I'm Samantha Fackler, your host. Join me for off-the-cuff conversations with the most authentic people I can find. Entrepreneurs, creatives, authors, visionaries. We welcome you as you are and hope you leave with what you need. This is Side Note, the podcast where big ideas become real. Today, we are exploring one of the common mistakes that I see entrepreneurs make. I was on the Life Her podcast last week, and she had asked me, what do you see that's really common across both established entrepreneurs and people that are earlier in the game within the first 3 years? And the number one thing that came out of that was, isolation. How many times have you been at your desk and you feel alone in your business? You have friends, you have family, maybe you have roommates, you have people that you're connected to online, maybe you have a team, maybe you have a lot of different contractors or people that are a part of your business, but it still feels lonely. And that's really common. I know I felt this and I still feel it sometimes. And it's what drove me to join what's called a mastermind, which is a group of like-minded people. It's usually curated by a coach or someone that leads that group and then structures the program. But of course, there are a ton of masterminds out there and a lot of different groups, a lot of different sizes. Some can be hundreds of people, some can be a couple, 3 to 5. So it really varies. So today I really want to laser in on why is this a problem, this isolation piece, and really get into it for a second. Isolation as a female entrepreneur is really destructive to our businesses. It's one thing to occasionally feel lonely at your desk when, racing between this project and this to do and this meeting or, going on this trip to meet certain people. It can feel like we're surrounded by so many people, but then it's like, but no one really gets it. No one really sees all the decisions that you have to make that are on your shoulders. And sometimes it feels like there are missed opportunities for collaboration or connection simply because you just haven't been in the same room as some people that would be great to collaborate with or to connect with. And you have no idea who might be good to collaborate or connect with because you haven't met them. The opportunities haven't surfaced yet. And I also see this with hitting plateaus. Now, we all know what it's like to hit a plateau in business. Sometimes you have a surge of momentum. You had your highest month ever. You're feeling amazing. And then things slow down and they sound like a train screeching to a halt. And things just don't grow as fast as they usually do. Maybe things are, they're doing okay, but it seems like you can't really get the train moving again at a fast speed. And you're struggling to figure out how do I hit another high month? Or how do I launch this new thing? Or how do I inject fresh energy into my business somehow? Because there's so many different ways of doing that. And typically that comes, that inspiration, that creativity, that ideation, it typically comes from outside of our business. It's not usually happening when you're staring at your computer trying to figure out, what's another idea I can add to this list? It usually comes from outside of us when we're, in a conversation with someone about something that we enjoy. And then all of a sudden, boom, something clicks and you have a light bulb. Those are some of my favorite times. And I know I've talked about before how I like taking a bath and getting out in nature or traveling. I have the best ideas that come in during those times. So again, why isolation is destructive to our businesses? Because we're not getting that fresh energy and injection. Another big problem here that I see with isolation is that we don't have a space to celebrate and share wins or get judgment-free support when we need it. Right? How many times have you had a killer month and you're so excited and you share it with a friend and your friend's like, cool, they don't get it because they're not an entrepreneur or they have a totally different business. It's like the entrepreneur girlies, we get it. We get those highs. We're like, you had your highest month in business ever. That's huge. Congrats. We are so happy for you. It's like, it's not a space that you need to worry about bragging. It's like, we're here to cheer you on. And an example I use of how powerful this can be is, we've all experienced negative self-talk at some point in our lives, if not a constant for some of us, right? It's like anytime you look in the mirror when you wake up, it's like you're immediately looking for like, shit, do I have any new wrinkles? Like, what the fuck's up with my hair? Blah, blah, blah. Like, we're so hard on ourselves. And there are a million reasons why, which is, warrants a whole entire other episode. But what if every time you looked in the mirror, that was flipped in reverse and you had positive self-talk? Oh, wow, my eyes look really bright today. I'm feeling good. I have a lot of energy. Wow, go you, go Samantha. Like, think about how powerful it would be if that was a positive thing every day, every time you looked in the mirror. Pretty wild to imagine. Now imagine that's the case, but it's for your business. So instead of being like, okay, I have X amount of things to do and maybe this problem to fix and this decision to sort out, what if instead you also had, ooh, this thing went really well. I get to celebrate this. And I get to celebrate this with other women who are stoked for me and celebrating right alongside me, and see it. How powerful could that be? Think about that possibility for a moment. Now, the impact of all these things, when we stay isolated as the entrepreneurs and we're not connected to other women entrepreneurs specifically, we see slower business growth. There is a network of these mastermind groups called Vistage. You may have heard of it. It's a very long time standing group. Actually, my father-in-law is one of the chairs, so he has a group in Vistage. But it's typically for, CEOs who have been in the game for a very, very long time at a certain level. So it's not for the women entrepreneurs who have just started, in the last 5 to 10 years. And Vistage saw 2.2 business growth once CEOs joined their groups. Why? Because it's the power of a curated peer group, right? Because of all this, people seeing you, ideating things that come up. Okay, I have this decision. Well, guess what? Now you have all these other perspectives to help you choose what's right for you and your path, right? These groups aren't telling you what to do, but you get to bring things to the group. Hey, I kind of want to workshop this idea with you, or I have this pitch coming up. I love some feedback, or I'm thinking about this marketing angle, or doing this new thing, or I need to shake up things. I need ideas. All of a sudden, you have this back pocket bank of ambitious, brilliant women who understand what it's like because they're around your level or just above, and they get it. And that is why your business sees growth by a huge margin when you join these groups. And that's where, if you're measuring ROI by numbers, that's where the number growth is. But of course, there is also a whole other side to growth as the person, the human, the woman leading this business. So another huge thing around impact is that there's way less stress and way less burnout for women that are in these peer groups. Now, you might think that, a peer group, that means I need to go to something. What if I don't want to go? I already have a packed calendar. No. That's why it's important to find the right group for you, where these moments that you come together live, whether it's on Zoom or in person, that should feel like a breath of fresh air. It should not feel like extra work. It should feel like, oh, I get to see my gals. It's more of like a gals night than a Zoom call, all hands. Very different flavors, very different energy. And it is so important that it has that energy, right? That it feels good and calming, but also so much joy. Because We are entrepreneurs so that we have more freedom and joy in our lives, and we love it. But sometimes we need that help and that support to feel that fuel even more so in our lives. Another big thing, women who are not a part of these also miss opportunities for collaboration and connection. I have connected with so many random women that I never thought I would ever meet because I've been a part of different groups and different communities. I never thought I would have any reason to collaborate with someone who does an Akashic Records reading. I'm thinking of one woman, Heather, in particular, and we've done an Instagram live together. And she had such amazing things to share about clearing your energy and different practices you can do even when you're on the go to just kind of like clear and freshen up the way that you feel on a physical, energetic level. And we got to collaborate and do this live together. And it was so much fun. I got so much feedback. Actually, we got to cross-pollinate audiences. So some of my people went to her and had readings with her. Then some of her audience came into mine, and it was beautiful. It was awesome and supportive. Even if you're someone who owns like a technical agency and you're like, I don't know who I can collab with, let yourself be surprised. Because I know that at least what I'll get into, I have a little snack, a little surprise for the end. It is so wonderful what you can stumble upon and be like, oh, I never thought of collaborating with someone in this way, but this actually makes a lot of sense. And I've seen collabs together, companies that have a product with companies that are a service, or companies that both have services or both have products, and all of a sudden they come together and they do wonderful things. Like truly, I can't even say the amount of ideas coming up because there's so many. I guess one I'll choose is giveaways. Think of how many giveaways actually do that marketing campaign across 4 or 5 different products. Or think about, how many people have a network of people that you could tap into. So you come and you're like, I'm looking for this type of client, or I'm looking for this type of collaboration, or I want to pick someone's brain who's really good at this legal niche for my business. And then all of a sudden someone in the group is like, hey, I know this person from college and they're awesome and they're a really good human and they do exactly that. So it's not just about what you can do directly with these people, but it's also pooling all of your networks together. And lastly, here, another big thing around the impact is you get more perspective on decisions. So let's say you're thinking about a hire, but you have some things that you're not sure of. Or you are thinking of a marketing campaign, but it could be a little bit better or sharper, more powerful. You bring that to these groups, and then suddenly these women who already know you and your business can provide you things that are actually really valuable and might spark something in you. I know when I was actually thinking about my podcast, I was a little lost at first in terms of the look and feel of it. I wanted it to look a little different than my business. I really wanted there to be a royal blue color involved because blue is like the stone, lapis lazuli. I might be butchering that pronunciation. I hope not. But I have a necklace with it because it symbolizes opening like the throat chakra and opening your voice, your visibility, and speaking your power. And of course, that's the entire reason for this podcast. It's speaking, it's voice, it's sharing knowledge and wisdom. I was able to bring my ideas to this mastermind group that I was in at the time and say, hey, these are the kinds of things I'm thinking, but I can't really nail the vision. And then someone was like, I'm kind of getting this vision of like New Mexico, like this deserty feel. And I thought about it for a while and I was like, I've never even been to New Mexico, but I love that and I'm drawn to that vibe. And I started doing research and then I put together this really beautiful mood board with all these images of like architecture from New Mexico, plants, succulents, really beautiful like clay and textures and things. And then all of a sudden, boom, the album artwork came into my brain, the color palette was solved, and bam, I had my new brand for my first side note, what you're listening to right now. All because I got a little inspiration at the right time that helped me accelerate my path towards an answer. Now, again, the power of curated groups. I want to laser in on the word curated for a second because there's a lot of groups out there you can join. And what I hear from women is like, well, I don't know which one to join. Especially if you've never been in a mastermind before, it can be like, well, what should I be looking for? And I think first and foremost, peer groups, I think you get the most out of them when they're around 10 people, 5 to 10 specifically, because it's intimate enough where you actually get to know the other women, meaning you get to share really meaningful ideas and contributions, perspectives. You also tend to walk away with friendships that go for way longer past the mastermind. And you actually get to share your networks when it makes sense. Curated. Who curates this group? The coach. So mastermind groups are typically led by a coach for a really good reason. That coach is going to bring their energy to this group. And I know we already talked about that. So if you have coaches you follow and you feel drawn to, also, hello, you're listening to this. I'm a coach. Right? My energy, the way that I lead my mastermind is going to reflect me and what I care about, the values, my business. That coach puts together a peer group. And also another thing to look for is a peer group that's around your same level. I've been a part of 3 different masterminds. I joined one that was very business focused, around 5 women. Occasionally it would expand and combine with her other groups. So then we'd have 20 to 30 women in the room. I joined another mastermind that was much more about your identity and energy as an entrepreneur, your visibility, your voice. So all different things that led to the formation of this podcast. And I joined a third mastermind that was incredibly expensive. It was $5,500 a month, but it was with a high profile coach that promised a lot as part of this mastermind. And I thought, you know what? This is an investment in my business, but I'm also going to learn about a lot by being around this, 7, I think now 8-figure entrepreneur, around these women who are 7-figure entrepreneurs. And at the time, I was barely scratching the surface of 100K. So I was definitely the lowest level. And what I got from these 3 groups were all very different. The first group, I realized, hey, there is a serious power behind accountability and sharing your goals and looking at the hard business training facts. It was almost like a refresher of business school. Like, okay, operations, yep, finances, yep. All these things are really important to talk about when it comes to business because that's what business is. And the second group, I got a lot from that. I felt very nourished as an entrepreneur and I felt like I had a space to go to when I felt stuck, which happens a lot. Even when things are glowing and going great, it's like you want to celebrate things. And then a month goes by or a couple of weeks go by or maybe the next day and it's like, oh shit, something else came up. So that was a beautiful place to go to for those types of things. But the third mastermind, this really expensive one, I ended up leaving after a couple months and it actually ended up crumbling the entire mastermind because the coach, while she had this image online and she had good energy online, she actually totally fumbled when it came to this mastermind. She didn't show up to calls. She did not deliver on her promises, like not nearly 50%. She ended up cutting half the things that were included in the mastermind within the first couple months, and almost everyone left. And on my one-on-one with her, I remember I didn't feel seen and I didn't feel heard. She was actually putting on her earrings halfway through and like not looking at the camera when I was talking about something very near and dear to me. And it was hard. It was a hard decision to leave that mastermind, but it was all a very real learning opportunity for me to see what I liked in masterminds and what I didn't. So I think, if you have an opportunity to speak with the coach of a mastermind before you join one, that's very important if you haven't done any work with them yet, because what's their energy like? What's the space going to be like? What's the community going to feel like? Because they are also intentionally creating this group. And again, coming back to that size, it's really important. When I was around those 7-figure entrepreneurs, I couldn't really relate to them as much. I tried to contribute, where it made sense, especially when it came to speaking or marketing or mindset stuff, because that's all my expertise. But they had very different situations in their business. They had a very different structure. They were at a different point. And so I actually got much more from the other two masterminds where women were closer to my level, had been in business a couple years and really focused on the things that felt relevant to me. And then those coaches, again, very different energy. The mindset identity one had very exuberant energy, very vivacious. And then the business one, as you can expect, she's Russian and very like, yes, this is it, and point blank. And it was very clear, and we were always on time, and it was very punctual. And so I got three very different experiences. But what was valuable across these two is that you're getting in the room with other people, and there is collective wisdom there. And so whether you're a part of a community or a mastermind, you're going to find that to some degree. Now, I want to distinct those two. A community is larger, and it's usually not as high touch. So there's less direct calls with the coach and the group. I've seen people name communities masterminds when they're actually not. If you see a mastermind that's like 100 people, that's not a mastermind. I'm sorry. I can't get behind that. That's a community call because there's no way you can talk to 100 people on one group call, or that 100 people can all get to know each other really, really well. I think that debunks it, in my opinion. I don't know. If you want to challenge me, DM me, or maybe don't DM me. Ideas will explode when you're in this space, no matter what, because you will have other perspectives, you'll have fresh energy, and you'll feel like you have friends in your corner and like a coach in your corner. And what's better than being at that desk, kind of feeling alone, looking at your to-do list, thinking about the decisions you have to make, maybe feeling that decision fatigue. But what's better when you're like, you know what? I'm not alone in this. I actually have this community that I can tap into 24/7, right? That's really powerful. And it's all about that concept of getting in the room, collective wisdom. Now, I have one last story to kind of share here, and it's when I had a business that was a newsletter. So it was a content-based business. I had two business partners, and basically we grew this email list, and we were in this email newsletter that talked about jobs in Web3 because it's a kind of new niche part of the tech world. There's a lot of jobs available, and there's a lot of people looking to break into the industry. And so we had an education component and courses. We were growing the email list rapidly. And then started to advertise to people who would then buy space in the email newsletter. And it's a whole engine, right? But we were all trying to learn about email newsletters because there's endless information about this specific niche. We all said, okay, we'll do about an hour of research a week just simply on growth and strategy because there's so much learning out there from people who have done this successfully. And they've all done it in their own way because every business is different, even an email newsletter business. We got to this point where we were like, let's form a group. Because if we're doing this, there has to be other people who are around our same stage or ahead of us, or maybe one step behind, who are also learning all these things. What if we came together and kind of did a peer-led mini mind together to accelerate our learning? Because think about how many famous people have done this. Mr. Beast did this. He had a group of YouTubers, and they all collectively would be learning and sharing their learnings to accelerate their growth. Same with Steven Spielberg and, that cast of directors in LA. They all, I think Ron Howard, there were a couple people in there that are all incredibly well known. It's like insane, the like small powerhouse group it was. But they all shared these learnings, and they're all brilliant, and they all have their own styles and their own movies, but they're all so well known, and they all, accelerated together. So that's the acceleration, the growth that we're talking about. It's not this excessive grind mode. These communities aren't like go, 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 like full throttle all the time. No, I'm sure there are some depending on the coach, Again, it comes back to their energy and how they're curating the space and the program, but it's just naturally what happens. This is exactly why I created my own mastermind called The Greenhouse. Now, I am obsessed with it. It is for women entrepreneurs who have made around or at least 100K in their business. So they're not just starting. They have had traction, maybe even a little momentum, and they're looking for a small, intentionally curated group to actually connect with other people. And of course, this is led by me. I'm a certified executive coach. I know how to curate this space and this group so that it feels safe and warm and loving, so that it supports the entrepreneur as an individual and a human, but it also supports the business. And of course, my time as a fractional CMO and marketing master, you get that as part of this too. And so what's included in this is there are 2 group calls a month, and you can choose to go to at least one, but those will start out with a little opening meditation or an opening training about what I'm seeing collectively. Because as a coach, one of the coolest things is that I see a lot of patterns and themes across people. There could be one week that something comes up for at least half the people in the group. And until they start talking about it, then it's like, okay, we're connecting. This is coming up for multiple people. Let's get into it. And then I can also bring in guest experts, which I'll get to in a second. But these group calls, again, they're a breath of fresh air. It's like you look forward to that moment to be with your gals, to calm, to like totally refresh the brain. It's like an etch-a-sketch when you shake it up. And then we go through hot seat style coaching, meaning it's your time to actually workshop something live with me and the group. And it's great because, as part of the greenhouse, you will get a quarterly one-on-one private coaching call with me. So that's you and me for 60 minutes, going deep into things on your business, checking in, finding guidance, finding answers, using decision theory to really take the right next steps for you. Again, getting that perspective, getting that marketing master in your back pocket. You got it all. And then these group calls are great because there are these midpoints where you can bring something coming up. Hey, there's this thing. Oh, I have this idea. Yada, yada. It's amazing what can happen. And then I will be doing custom trainings for the greenhouse too. So if all y'all are like, hey, we really want a training on this marketing thing, or how to land speaking gigs, or how to totally dominate funnels for our business, I will create that training for the women in the group because I know your businesses. We know each other's businesses. And again, it's the power of that. It's huge. So the guest experts are a massive part of the greenhouse and what make it so beautiful. I am blessed to have an incredible network of people I've met over the years. We're talking high profile people who have been coaches for 20, 30 years. Coaches who have taught at Berkeley, who have done international relations and negotiations. We're talking about people who consult with Fortune 500s on operations and systems or finance. We're talking about breathwork facilitators that I have experienced immense, beautiful, awesome change from, or Reiki energy healers. So you'll notice the guest experts that I'm bringing in, they do 2 things. It's first the care of you as a human and a woman, because that's a whole part of this. It's a whole part of the entrepreneurial journey. It's your energy, your spirit, your sense of joy. So you want to cultivate that. And it's also cultivating strengths in the business, growing at your speed, whatever that looks like, making sure it's sustainably set up for success, up-leveling your marketing so that it feels really beautiful and deep and rich and just hits the nail on the head, because it can. And I'm here to help you make that happen. And these guest experts bring a lot in. So there's 1 training a month. I have 8 speakers that are game, but I want to bring them in at the right points for this group. So there's also an opportunity to be like, hey, I really want to learn from this kind of expert or on this specific thing. I got you, girl. I'm bringing those people in. So That's an amazing part. So far, for the 8 speakers that I have, we have things like funnels, systems, legal Q&A, elegant and easy sales training. Very excited for that one. Visibility and pitching, brand and color, and so much more. Another big part of this that has been totally transformative for me in the past when I've been in these things is the community channel. So this is what you tap into when you're at your desk feeling like, twiddling my thumbs, maybe scrolling Insta. I need to figure this thing out. Where do I bring it? Well, that's the community channel. And so we use Slack to connect. I will be sharing micro audio trainings in there at least one a week. So these are 5 to 15 minutes. Sometimes they will be a meditation, curated around what's coming up for you guys. Sometimes it will be a training on marketing or something that I'm seeing across the businesses in the greenhouse so that everything is curated for you. It's also a space to come with your ideas that hit at 3 a.m. or to come and get a quick kind of decision perspective, or if something's feeling really sticky or you're just having a shit day or something happened in your personal life, there's a breakup or something massive that just sucks. It's like you have a space to be like, gals, I kind of need some love right now. This thing happened and this is how I'm feeling. And it's like, we got you. That's why it's called the greenhouse, because no matter what's happening on the outside of life, you're in this safe, protected space where we're growing and it's warm and you look around and there's resources and nutrients everywhere for you and the business, right? Everything's connected. So as part of the community channel, the guests that I have, they will also be kind of moonlighting for the day in that channel. So even if you miss a guest training, you can view the recording and you'll have Q&A with that person asynchronously, which is also really important because I know that y'all are busy. And so this is designed for busy female entrepreneurs. Now, the last few things I mentioned, the quarterly one-on-ones with me, but if you sign up in the next week, and by sign up, I mean apply, because there is an application that's required. If you apply in the next week, then you get monthly one-on-ones, which is a huge, 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 huge bonus. That means instead of getting 4 private one-on-ones with me, you get 12. So that's a huge deal. Now, again, this is a year-long program. And my whole ethos with this is that we are your wellspring, but we are also your springboard. Care and growth go hand in hand. And that is the theme of the greenhouse. Now, if you're like, okay, tell me more, I need to sign up, immediate yes. Okay, love it. The application link is in the show notes. There will also be a link, the Greenhouse Mastermind, where you can find out more and view all this in a visual way. We do have a deadline. So December 3rd is when we kick off. So you need to apply by then if you're interested. I cannot guarantee that you'll be accepted because, again, this will be for 10 members only, and it will be curated so that if you're accepted, you will know that the other women in the mastermind are around your same level. There is a reason why you all are there and connected. So apply. Even if you're like, I don't know, but I'm a little scared, apply. It doesn't mean hot button yes, forever. Just apply for the opportunity. And then if you're accepted, we can go from there. I will also make it a point to meet with people who have applied because I want to make sure it's the right fit bi-directionally. And if it's not a good fit for some reason, I have a ton of recommendations and I will probably get a good sense for who you might be a better fit for. And I'm happy to do that. Okay, y'all, this was so much fun. I love talking about masterminds and the explosive growth that can happen when you're a part of the right group and you meet those gals who get it as an entrepreneur. So again, find those links below in the show notes. My name is Samantha Fackler. I am a business coach. I'm a certified exec coach from Berkeley Institute of Coaching. I have been in many masterminds, so I have lots of reasons for why I've designed the greenhouse the way I have. If you have any questions about it, feel free to DM me on Instagram at growwith_Sam. You can also shoot me an email at growwithsam.com. And with that, thank you for being here. I hope you got value out of this episode. Please leave a 5-star review if you did. Love those. They totally make my day. And with that, have a lovely morning, afternoon, evening, and I'll chat soon.